Okay, hello and welcome to a new video. In this one, I'm going to talk about corporate entertaining and event organizations, countable and uncountable nouns, and finally, making invitations and offers. Um, well, let's start with corporate entertaining and event organizations. Um, these topics are related because you may be working at a company, will have to be in charge of creating these events. Okay. So here I'm going to introduce some vocabulary that is necessary for you to know. The first one is, well, corporate entertaining. This is like the title. The purpose. The purpose is why, okay? Why you have to um, create this event. There is a reason, yeah? Maybe it's for a celebration. Maybe it's because you need a meeting with an important client, yes? So the purpose, why? Event, you know, the venue is the place, okay, the place where you will um do this. Then you will receive your guests. Guests are the people who were invited. The host company is the company that creates the event. The facilities, the places, what things you can find in the venue, the keynote, the breakout rooms, return on investment, and the critical time plan. So now let's go to the verbs of corporate entertaining. We have the first one that is arrange. Arrange involves coordinating different elements. Okay? Coordinate, it's about bringing together different people, teams, and resources. Communicate um, involves active listening, understanding, and responding. Okay, remember that communication is important in business, definitely, but try to listen first. Okay, listen to what the other party has to say or what your client or customer has to say. And once you receive that, think and then you respond. But listen first. Try not to answer um, always first. Delegate, when you have a lot of things and you can't do them, you start delegating. Okay? Maybe for your workmates or for people who are in your team. Confirm, when you want to know if people are coming to the party or to the event. Monitor is to check. Troubleshoot is a verb that I love because sometimes we create these events and we are sure about our planning that everything will be all right, but there will always be problems, okay? Certain problems, things that happen every day, everywhere. So you troubleshoot. It's like you have the ability to solve the problems in the heat of the moment. Then evaluate, budget, it has to do with money, and innovate, it has to do with innovation, definitely. Well, these are the verbs related to corporate entertaining. Remember to always look up for a purpose. Remember to always know who have to come to this event. Remember to confirm and remember to listen and to communicate effectively. So now I'm going to talk about countable and uncountable nouns. First of all, let's go to countable nouns. They mean things that you can count, of course, because there is an easy way to do that. Okay, you look at the object for the first time, or at the objects in plural for the first time, and you know that there is a way to count them. Um, when it is uncountable, first of all, you have to know that it is a little bit more complicated, definitely, to count them. And you will include here materials, abstract nouns. You will include gases. You will include liquids. You will include everything that you buy in a certain measurement. Okay, let's talk about let's talk about countable nouns first. And here we have to make plurals. Yeah. When I talk about plurals, remember that is two or more. That is plural. So the first rule to form a plural in English is to add an S. Okay. For example, you have one cat and then you add the S. Two cats. One animal and then you add an S. 35 animals. That's rule number one. The second rule is when the nouns, when the words end in S, double S, SH, CH, X, O, or Z, or Z in British. So if the word ends with any of these letters, you have to add ES. For example, one boss would change to two bosses. One watch will change to seven watches. When you have a consonant plus a Y at the end of the word, you will take the Y out and you will add IES. And finally, when you have F or FE, you will change these letters by VES. For example, one wolf changes into two wolves, VES. Of course, in English, we have exceptions, definitely. And what are the exceptions? The exceptions are the irregular plurals, okay? All the rules that I have just told you will not apply here because these are words that vary. For example, tooth will change into teeth. Foot, feet. Child, children. Man, men. Woman, women. Sheep is maintained. It's the same word. Sheep, sheep in singular and plural. The same as fish, unless you're talking about the species. But fish, that is generally like that. Person and people. Of course, this idea of countable and uncountable nouns was firstly addressed explaining to you what a countable noun was. And I told you that it was easy to count. So here I included all the all the categories that I had mentioned at the very beginning. For example, liquids and gases, solid and granular substances, words related to energy, subjects, words that refer to grouped concepts like money, furniture, accommodation, and last but not least, information and abstract concepts. Remember that this is important. They only have a singular form, okay? Always singular. So let's go on because now I want to show you the quantifiers. Either for countable or for uncountable nouns, you will use certain specific words that will tell you how much or how many elements exist. The first one is many. Many is used to express big quantities with countable nouns only. For example, how many reports do we have to write? How many cousins do you have? How many matches has your team won? How many energy? Okay, here there is a mistake because energy is uncountable, so you can't use many here. Let's go on because for uncountable, you have much. For example, how much sugar do we need for the recipe? How much optimism do you feel these days? How much emails does your boss send you every day? This is a mistake because emails is countable. So you can't use much with countable nouns. Then, either for countable or uncountable, for both of them, you will use these. That is a lot of. You can say a lot of money, a lot of animals, a lot of friends, okay? So I included here a piece of advice saying that when we are not sure if a noun is countable or uncountable, it is a good idea to use a lot of, so there wouldn't be any problem. Let's go on with some. Some is for countable and uncountable, and it is always positive, okay? For example, Paul bought some eggs, some meat, and some orange juice. Meat uncountable, eggs countable. Okay? So for positive sentences, you use some always. And then there is here some has an exception because when you have any that is the following word, any, we use any for questions and negations, okay? Questions and negations. For example, do we have any bananas left? Did you put any sugar in my mate? In my mate, sorry. Uh, and negations. For example, I haven't got any bananas left. She doesn't have any friends. Okay? So for questions and negations, you use any. But for affirmative sentences, you use some. Eh, according to what I have just told you will use always any for questions, okay? Unless when you offer something and you use this, would you like? If you make a question or if you make an offer to someone, you will have to use in the question some, okay? So some positive, any question or negation. But when you make an offer, you use some anyway. And here you have few. We use it to express in small quantities with countable nouns only. For example, a few people, a few dresses, a few balls, but not a few oil, because oil is uncountable. And then you have a little, okay, just a little. We use to express small quantities with uncountable nouns, only uncountable nouns. For example, a little salt, a little money. Well, thank you very much for listening to me and see you in the following video.